Hello, everyone. A fascinating one today, I have to say. Hope you're all in good health. So, as part of his press round of interviews designed to create publicity for his Netflix drama series Unchosen, where he plays a sinister cult leader, our Ninth Doctor, Chris Eccleston, lamented the great trend in drama at the moment for antagonists who are toxic, white, apparently heterosexual, late middle-aged men. That's how he put it. There's speech marks, everybody. He also said masculinity is in crisis, and it seems it's particularly white, working-class boys who are being neglected, left to rot by governments and targeted by the far right. We shall look at this later, or should I say in a moment. You can see there some of the headlines we've got, and we will apply them to Doctor Who. And I've got a panel of 3, so don't worry. Since to me, Chris Eccleston represented the first embracing of working class as the Doctor himself, finally reminding the world that everyone has a north, I thought it offered an opportunity for me to explore how Doctor Who, in its current era, has treated white working class men. We know some of the obvious examples and stories, but could this Eccleston concern be applied to Doctor Who? Or is it just a wider issue that we need to be aware of? For decades, Doctor Who was one of the few big British sci-fi shows that actually celebrated ordinary people, including working-class Brits as heroes, sidekicks, or just everyday folk caught up in cosmic chaos. Think back to the classic era, or even RTD'S first reboot run. Characters like Rose Tyler's boyfriend, Mickey Smith. Okay, he's black, but the estate vibe was there. And by the way, I don't like this white-black thing at all. Or the broader council estate energy around the Tylers showed working class life with warmth, humour and resilience. My namesake, Donna Noble, loud, brilliant, temp from Chiswick, was pure working class fire and became one of the most beloved companions ever. Again, she's not a working class man, she's a working class woman, but there shouldn't be a difference, should there? The show often positioned these characters as the heart of the story, resourceful, loyal, funny, and ultimately heroic. But something shifted in the more recent seasons, especially post-2020 under the current creative team. White working class men increasingly showing up not as cheeky everyday men or comic relief, but as symbols of something darker, casual bigotry, emotional repression, outdated attitudes, or outright toxicity. The giggle, loads of angry men in the streets. They're the ones who sneer at the Doctor's new face, who cling to old hierarchies, who represent the parts of Britain the show now wants to critique. It's subtle in some episodes, more pointed in others. Think futuristic bubbles full of insular, privileged, but coded working class types, rejecting empathy, or background figures who embody the problematic everyman the TARDIS crew has to move past. So yesterday. Is this intentional social commentary on class, masculinity in modern Britain? Or is it a side effect of the show leaning harder into broader cultural conversations about identity and power? That's what we're unpacking today. We'll look at specific episodes, you can see them there, and characters where this shift feels most pronounced. Why it matters for a show that's supposed to be about embracing the universe's weird and wonderful variety, and whether it risks alienating the very audience that kept Who alive through the wilderness years. So take your pick there, Dot and Bubble, Lucky Day, 73 Yards, Robot Revolution. Lots to come, and it's video clips as well. Because here's the thing, Doctor Who has always been political. It's punched up at empire, fascism and bureaucracy since the 60s. But when the target starts looking a lot like the average bloke down the pub in 1970s or 1980s Britain, the factory worker, the cab driver, the football fan, it starts to feel less like cheeky satire and more like a cultural reckoning aimed squarely at one demographic only. The white working class male has had tasty, sometimes humorous, sometimes confronting depictions. I mean, take Del Boy in Only Fools and Horses, or the dour and desperate boys from the Black Stuff. Remember Yosser Hughes? Both were designed commenting on Thatcher's Britain from different standpoints. The entrepreneurial spirit of Del Boy, or the desolation of unemployment. Gives a job, still resonates with me. It was impersonated in every school playground at the time. I mean, Russell Davies, in his first stint as showrunner, wanted the gritty Northern Ninth Doctor to show a refreshing progression from what he called the pompous classic Doctors. His intention was to embrace the working class appearance, manner, and attitude to energize the Doctor Who character. It worked. Spitting and frothing angrily at a Dalek and being utterly bravely loyal to Rose in Bad Wolf when all obstacles were against him. RTD's choice seemed well placed and really did tap into the TV audience consciousness. Well, now I've said all that, let's get them on. I mean, let's get Joe up there in Scotland. Hello, Joe.
Hi, everyone.
Hopefully that context made sense to you.
Yeah, well done.
I think there's a fair bit there, and there's a lot to chew on. And of course, our triumvirate is complete. There's John, not John.
Yeah, can you hear me all right, guys? Sorry, my computer just went pops while you were doing your intro, so I've just restarted, but it's been a bit funny, so I will get camera up in a second. Hi, everybody. I'm here in the ether. Hello.
Yeah. As soon as the computer thought, oh, Brendan's going to go on for a while, it kind of collapsed. Anyway, there, good to see everybody. I'll join the thread in a minute, but yeah, you can see we've got an awful lot to discuss here. So suppose that what we do is we get straight onto it. That's how the Sense for You normally does it. So Chris Eccleston attacks woke TV bosses for turning white middle-aged men into toxic villains and claims they think their audiences are stupid in a blistering rant. What were your first thoughts, Joe, when you saw this kind of headline coming up?
Christopher's always sort of been that way, bless him, and I completely agree with him. I think it's something we've been saying for a little while. We picked up on the treatment of certainly the white man, and certainly in entertainment. You know, we had Luke Skywalker, Indiana Jones, and the bigger scale were treated badly. The Doctor's been treated badly. So it's great that he's got that conversation going, but on the working class men now, not just the heroes. They brought down our heroes, but this is getting a little more in depth. So I'm glad he said it.
And we are going to be very Doctor Who focused tonight, everybody, but we're just going to generally be wide for a moment. So as I bring in John properly, I mean, John, I can make a case for white working class men have been dissed a bit in TV drama recently. Adolescence is a classic one. In education, that's my forte. And I have to say, white working class boys are back of the queue in lots of priorities and funding. But I actually think what Chris Eccleston is saying here, I have included Donna Noble. I do include Belinda Chandra. I do include some of the working class women, because when we say white working classes, we mean a lot. And I have to say, John, I hate having to put the word white, because we were all brought up to be quite colorblind, to be quite frank. And I hate having to define things. But where do you stand on this, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's saying it. I think for me personally, white seems to be the only racial ethnicity now that's fair game for everybody to take a pop at, but no other ethnicity is. I mean, you're right. Yeah, I mean, you've given some examples there, but you're seeing it across the board in a lot of productions now, and you know, it's just turning people off to it, because it's like, well, the thing I've got to ask the people that make these things where they swap these characters and they diminish white characters is the fact that they must clearly hate themselves by the fact that they do it, you know, as a white person. You know, you've either got no integrity whatsoever, or you've got something about yourself that you hate. That's my opinion on it. And you know, some things I agree with Eccleston on, some things I don't, and this is certainly something I do agree with him on.
Well, and Garbage agrees with you, so I'm going to have to stop that, Ed. That's going to have to be
great minds, Garbage. Great minds.
Yes, there will be more tonight as well. There'll be a Queen premiere and all the rest of it. I'll say a little bit more in a minute. In fact, I do have a little bit more to say. So I'm going to show you in a moment what Chris Eccleston said in a lot of detail, and then we shall test that out with Doctor Who episodes in particular as a rider critique. From Keir Starmer downwards, there is a hard-nosed focus on toxic masculinity at the moment. My concern is who is selected as the example. In his febrile cultural and political landscape, only a brave, sure-footed writer or producer would wander into this territory. One false move, one mistake in casting and plotting, and the critics and the public's knives will be sharpened and used with feverish relish. So I think we have a right, when we look at Lucky Days, 73 Yards, and various Doctor Who stories, to go, there'll have been a proper, Joe, there'll have been a proper process here, won't there, about choosing who's cast, what's depicted.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite evident in when I was watching some of the shows to talk about this tonight, I noticed specifically who was cast in what areas. Who's the intelligent person here? Who's the hero here? And it was quite interesting to dismantle them, all the different characters, sadly, into racial profiles. So we can maybe mention that as we go along, but it was definitely contrived.
Yeah. By the way, here's a shout out for your son, Tara. If you were to believe RTD, Joe's son Gabriel is probably, well, he's not, is he? I won't read all the rest out, but yes, Gabriel's not. He's a good lad, isn't he?
He's playing Minecraft and making a lasagna.
Well, there you go. You think he's
doing that at the same time? That's talent.
Yeah. You know what they're like. They're hooked up and
David Harding over there in Toronto. Is my mind playing tricks on me, or were most of the bad guys on classic Doctor Who white too? But we didn't see it that way back then. Well, we didn't see it that way back then. The country was different, society was different, and yeah, two wrongs don't make a right. But what we're saying now is, when everybody has been well educated and well versed on every protocol possible on representation, they know exactly what they're doing now, and I think they need to be very careful.
And there was a difference back then as well, with the fact that, you know, obviously all they wanted to do then was entertain with good stories. They weren't particularly caring about demographics or anything like that. It was just tell a good story, bringing the best ensemble cast in as possible to make sure it is a great hit. That's what they did. This lot,
great theatre actors and everyone, didn't you? We got quite a variety, and
this lot, modern Who, what's the first thing they go to? They go, okay, well, we need diversity A, B, C, D, and E. Then we'll work on a story, and then we'll go to to preparing for the show. That's what they do now.
Now, everybody, it's a full show tonight. We've got two outstanding panelists, media producer and John. No. He's got his own channel, Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. But the other thing is, we've got the source. The source gives us his feedback on this headline. So it's going to be interesting that. I've also got the correct pages and appropriate bits from the BBC report on representation in 2026 on the BBC. So we are going to be well informed, and also we've got the clips, as I keep saying. I will tell you about the giveaway. You don't have to mention Shara's Jack tonight, but obviously in the next week or two, make sure you're subscribed. The Blu-ray giveaway is there if you've got a UK postal code. And we've got Garbage, who is very excited. We've got a Queen Bat premiere tonight, because you know I'm bothered about the Queen Bat not being able to give consent, and she was milked till she was flat. Well, we've got the exclusive footage tonight, so look out for that if you like Queen Bats and that sort of thing. Right, okay, here we go. Chris Eccleston. Historically, there would be programs that I watched when I was young where I would feel patronized, love thy neighbor or whatever. But there was a lot where I felt I was being respected. And he gives two examples, the likes of Play for Today and The Naked Civil Servant. That kind of stood out a mile. I thought, The Naked Civil Servant, Quentin Crisp. But I suppose he's just going, it gives a truth. It just tells a truth. It's not trying to, I mean, I have to say, when you did see The Naked Civil Servant, and I was kind of closet at that point, I was thinking, well, that's not me. Oh, God, this doesn't look a nice life. Oh, he got beaten up. Oh, I don't like that. God, his hair's like a walnut whip. What's going on? And, but I suppose, Joe, what he's saying is he likes TV to give truth. No filter.
Yeah. And this is contrived TV we're getting because, as you know, I think we know the BBC has to have a diversity. They have to have X amount of
Oh no, Joe, you can't do that. You can't give valid examples of when there was diversity in the past, because that completely undermines their argument. I always say it many a time. I've been called a racist and a phobe and everything before. When I watch Star Trek, Captain Sisko is one of my favorite characters from Star Trek. He's a badass captain. Yeah. I love Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager. I think she's a fantastic captain. It's got nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's the fact is, these days it's all one-dimensional tosh, where they do not develop that character. They do not structure the character and give the character an arc of where they're going to develop and go. It's just, again, you can swap them in and out of any show and they would all fit into any of those shows because they're all exactly the same template every single time.
Well, let's show a little bit else, because that's what he's saying is his context. And then he goes, there's a great trend in drama at the moment for antagonists who are toxic, white, apparently heterosexual, late middle-aged men, continue, to be toxified. Masculinity is in crisis, and it seems it's particularly white working class boys who are being neglected, left to rot by governments and targeted by the far right. So with my Doctor Who head on, first and foremost, I'm thinking, well, I'm trying to think. I mean, Adric was a foreigner, from a different world as a young lad. Turlough was a private school boy, but he wasn't from Earth. So as you come to the present day, we did have Ryan. So under the Jodie Whittaker era, Ryan was a warehouse worker, working class lad. Graham, Bradley Walsh, he was a bus driver. So you did have working class representation there. But then the argument, Joe, was they weren't depicted very well, were they? I mean, Ryan disappeared. All I remember is his thumb sucking scene in one of the episodes. And I just thought, you've got a big strapping working class lad and you've brought him down to sucking a thumb to do a message. Graham always seemed to be on the fringes, really, to me. And I thought, well, if this is working class representation, it's not working. It's just not working.
No, it's not. And to be honest with you, I can't think too much about the Jodie area because they were too busy focusing on the women being the best thing ever and the most magical doctor and naturally the bestest and the heroine every time. And so these guys didn't get a chance to step up and show themselves. And then by the time we get to Gatwa, we're really pushed for getting examples, because I don't know if I can think of a good working class example by Gatwa, because I've got a list of who isn't a good example during Gatwa.
Yeah,
they're not like springing to mind immediately. And even Gatwa's own doctor doesn't seem to have a class, does he? He's sort of some ethereal mannequin doctor. He's kind of classless in a way, isn't he? It's interesting.
He's not the doctor. He's just he's a template for RTD.
Yeah.
The thing is, the 15th Doctor, John, for whether we liked him or not, the 15th Doctor, when he did relate to, I'm trying to think of any working class males he related to. So, for example, he talked to the young police officer in the church on Ruby Road and said, you've got a ring in your pocket, or she's going to say yes, and all the rest of it. And it made him just like some little thing. I remember in the first era, I remember the lad on the bed, and he said, clear your browsing history. And I feel as though a lot of the time working class lads have just been a little bit of a sidekick. Look at Mickey Smith. I know he was black, but he was working class. He was a sidekick. He was really undermined. You played up Rose massive, didn't you, John? But by making her big, you undermined the lad.
Well, I always thought this when in that Davison era, the RTD era, the fact that not Davison era, RTD era, and Eccleston era was when you watch it, and certainly when you go into Tennant's 10th Doctor run, when you look at the way Mickey Smith's portrayed and the arc he goes on, I mean, I did cheer for him at the end of it, because not only is the Doctor come in that nonsense and effectively stolen his girlfriend,
yeah,
but they're there when he travels with the 10th Doctor and Rose. They're actually belittling him in the TARDIS.
Yes.
You know, about whether his finger's on there. But also, you see in Boomtown at the end of season 1, you see the fact that Rose is just using him as, you know, I'll use you to my advantage when I want you, because she basically wants to hook up with him and go to a hotel as soon as she lands back in Cardiff with the Doctor and Jack. But then he calls her on it, doesn't he? He basically says it's always going to be the Doctor, it's not going to be me. And the next time you see him, he's different. He's kind of moving on a bit more, and he mocks her in the Christmas Story. But yeah, he was belittled in that early run.
Yeah, the first working class representation from Rose onwards, when you think about it, that the head and the wheelie bin, you remember his head, and he screamed. And if you go through the whole process, he was made to look like some boring prat that would look very boring compared to going in the TARDIS with the Doctor, another kind of working class depiction. So it was a win and it was a loss. The trouble was one of them was true working class and one was an alien. I mean, Joe, when you look back on that era now and you think of what they were doing, you had the Rose Tyler's council estate. I think so. It freshened up Doctor Who by doing all that. I think it really grounded it, didn't it?
It did, but to make the Doctor sexy, they had to diminish the boyfriend, because that was Tennant was attractive, but they had to amplify the Doctor's attractiveness, I think, by bringing the lad down a little bit, because you got to get this teenage girl terribly attracted to the Doctor, so they had to. Yeah, it was a tricky one.
And yet, even when you got to Bad Wolf, or the one after that, Part of the Ways, they needed Mickey to get the big truck to try and kind of prise the console open. You know, this is classic. Working class men are needed. We don't want to hear you. We don't want to be in your company. But when we need you, we'll call you. He was like
cannon fodder.
Yeah,
they're there to be used. And you're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's what it was. You know, and again, when you see him when he comes back at, you know, with the 2-part Cyberman story episodes, he is effectively completely different. He's like, well, he's not thinking about Rose anymore. He's matured as a character, and it's all the better from him being away from Rose and the Doctor.
Yeah,
it's helped him. Sometimes you just got to walk away.
Yeah, sometimes you have to walk away. Well, we're going to walk straight for it. Headlights at us now. We're going to look at one episode, not a whole episode. We're looking at clips. So just to kind of advance Chris Eccleston's argument or to challenge it. So he's talking about, you got the gist. There's a bit more he says, but I'll just break it up. So this is Robot Revolution, everybody. Remember the sperm and the egg? Right, here we go.
I look up at the night sky and it is so beautiful. How can I capture this? How can I celebrate your birthday and treasure this moment forever? Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You could fold the paper and save it for later, but never mind. That star, that's yours.
Does it have to say miss?
Are you married?
No.
Do you like it or?
Yes.
Kiss you.
I'll stop there for a second. I'll bring in Joe first. Joe, as a woman as well, a mother of a white working class boy, how did you like that depiction or not of the bloke, Alan Budd?
Well, initially I thought he was being absolutely lovely. I didn't see why she was repulsed. He's looking at the sky saying it's a beautiful night, happy birthday, here's a gift. He got her a really thoughtful gift. But there's this sort of strange tension. So I didn't know what was going on there, because personally I read it as he was being really sweet. And I've heard people say things about wrapping paper, so that's not necessarily a dig. I've heard people say that sort of thing.
Hey, look, it can be a compulsion. It can be an autistic trait. It can be lots of things where people go, oh, I don't like the noise. Can you not do this? Can you just fold it? People like to neat obsessed, hygiene obsessed. There's so many things, but it was used, John. I don't know if you've seen this before. It was used as a microaggression, him trying to control her. How did you find when you saw that? And I'll show you a bit more in a moment.
Well, firstly, it made me want to vomit because it was just it's complete tripe. The other thing I would say is that not only do they dumb down the white character, but they also have to have that person of ethnicity who is the know-it-all, how can I put it, insufferable bitter cow. You know, and again, I gotta be honest, why would any guy want to be dating someone like that who is so miserable? You know, again,
she ends up a nurse. She's a nurse in the end, right?
They can still be annoying and miserable.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you want to date them. And I think like the way this character's portrayed, again, this character from the bits I've seen is no different to the actor that's portrayed the character, because the actor and the statement she made before it came to starting in Doctor Who were absolutely disgraceful and insufferable as well. So in fact, she's just playing herself. You know, I really do tire of this nonsense. And again, there's nothing wrong with a white man, straight white man, as an example, on a date with somebody, showing that how strong he is, showing how he's going to take control of the situation, saying, look, I like you. How about we go out again, and then kissing, you know, not this whole, I don't know if I can do it. You know, it's absolute nonsense.
I know, it reminds me of Star Trek Fleet Academy. It reminds me of all the stuff out there where basically adults are kind of depicted as clumsy Disney teenagers. Now, if I show you everybody the whole bit, because obviously there's a story arc here. Alan Budd comes back, so I'll show you.
Night sky, and it is so beautiful. How can I capture this? How can I celebrate your birthday and treasure this moment forever? Happy birthday.
Thank
You could fold the paper and save it for later, but never mind. That star, that's yours.
Does it have to say Miss?
Are you married?
No.
Do you like it, or...?
Yes.
Kiss you.
For God's sake, Alan, what are you doing here?
You are Alan Budd. I find happiness beyond pain.
You've been killing people.
I can make up the rules and win.
Oh, give it to me.
I feel strong, like never before.
You started the revolution. Belle, why did you finish with me?
And when we're married, I really don't think you should wear clothes that tight anymore. Plus, no more texting after 8 p.m.
Because all you ever did was correct me. And tut. And huff. And roll your eyes. And tell me off. Oh my God, taken coercive control and made it... How can you live with yourself? But where's Alan? Where did he go? Do you mean...
He's a sperm and an egg. Oh. Oh. Goodbye, Alan.
This place is nuts.
Yes.
Right, so there you go. That's the story arc of a white working class lad, too long on the computer, clumsy with women, controlling of women, coercive, microaggressions, turns into an alien robot who wants to own his girlfriend back. I mean, it's an everyday story, Joe, but do you think it's dangerous, or do you think it's just fun? Do you think it flies into Chris Eccleston's territory of what he said?
Well, going back to what John said about that scene, it was an absolute load of trash, but I had whiplash from it because some parts of it looked fantastic. You could see the money really working. I liked a lot of the visuals in this. There was almost this kind of hints of a really good story that was just ripped away from this focus on him being this character. I mean, it was like a Cenobite. That character was really dark, and I loved it. I thought, well, visually, this is a really good thing. But my brain's saying, what's coming out their mouths is absolute trash, and I can't get to grips with this story. And they've turned this lad into something so comical and nonsensical. I can't hold my mind together to like this episode. So it was quite a traumatic thing, and I think it was absolutely terrible what they did to that.
Do you think
boy.
it's true? I mean, Joe, I'm intrigued by what you think, and then I'll come to John. This microaggression thing came in the last few years. Is it right? I know there's abusive boyfriends out there as well as abusive. You know, we know there's dysfunctional relationships. We're not dissing that, but in this case, what we had is it listed wrapping paper, tutting, huffing, and rolling your eyes. And I thought, do you know what? That I allow, of course I do. In a class of 30, kids will roll their eyes. They will tut, they will huff. But as long as they don't say, take you on, because otherwise, are we really trying to control everybody's face and tut?
Well, the price he paid was death, annihilation, for being a bit of a nippy lad, really. I mean, okay, they justified it by he went to this planet and turned into an evil warlord, therefore he deserves death. It's just nasty. It's a nasty, incoherent train of thought, the whole thing, actually.
The thing is, John, what gets me is I'll show you Dot and Bubble clip later. And in that one, they're very white supremacist. And yet the Doctor's pleading with them because he wants to save them. And yet poor Alan Budd, who suffered from microaggressions, he's a sperm and an egg and he's dead. And the Doctor does a high kick and doesn't give a damn.
Yeah, I think from that scene, one of the things that I picked up on that straight away that they do, because they're just poor at writing these characters now, they really are, is the fact that what they do is they're trying to diminish the white guy, but they actually make the non-white female character the worst character because she's a coward. Because they try and make her sound tough, but if a relationship was that bad, why wasn't she able to finish that on her own terms? Why did it take him being swept away to another planet and then being transformed to have this final conversation? It shows that she's got no guts at all. The whole toxic male nonsense, which I saw the bits throughout RTD2 era, again, is there for everybody to see. It's just, well, it's terrible. It's awful.
Well, as David Harding says here to bring into the play, it's a good point. Am I wrong in suggesting that poor old Alan felt more like a caricature than a three-dimensional character? Mm-hmm. He was a means to an end and nothing more. In other words, when Chris Eccleston is arguing against TV bosses out there, including RTD, that you are making white working class males the villains, the toxic villain, and he is David Harding calling them out. You've taken a white working class lad, you haven't even fleshed him out and given him a decent kind of character arc. You've just made him a means to an end.
And they've been doing it for a while, because I noticed, and my son noticed, Capaldi, am I a good man? I don't know if I'm a good man. Am I a good man? Maybe I should be a woman. Women would be better. Hence, and then not only just a woman, a black man is better. So you could see the wave. Even the Doctor himself was being pushed out of the white man, which I'm sad Capaldi didn't clock onto that as a mega fan himself, but you can see the writing was on the wall.
Well, David Harding's on form tonight. Extra points, you're going to have to get gold stars. Remember when Margaret Slevine, who'd done bad things, got a second chance at the end of Boomtown? Yeah, you see, the Doctor suddenly allows really bad villains, cannibals, white supremacists, gives them another chance, but Alan Budd had microaggressions and he wanted her to preserve the wrapping paper, and he maybe did have a curfew what time he wanted her in, and that there were controlling hints there. I know there's red flag, but he
Donna Noble. Donna Noble's an example. You know, you can flip it and say she was abusive. When you get to that, when you get to the runaway bride, was it with a soon to be husband, who gets killed in the end, who betrays her. The way she treats him throughout that episode is disgraceful,
Yeah.
But again, that seems to be acceptable. But the other way round, it's not acceptable. So there's this double standard that's gone on for ages. And again, this is why I come back to what I said at the beginning. People like RTD and co, I get the feeling that they hate themselves because they seem to write characters from their ethnicity that are horrible people. So that's a mirror unto themselves.
It seems to be clear to me from looking at this, and that we'll have other case studies, that RTD1 was a happy chappy and just got on with trying to entertain. RTD2, since 2023 onwards, has been very angry about certain things, and his anger is directed at white working class lads. That's quite clear, because that's all he seems to be attacking. So as Chris Eccleston says here, so as an ex-working class white boy, I try if I can to address some of these things. Masculinity shouldn't be contingent on other people's oppression. But with the erosion of the writer's culture to almost writing by committee, I've heard stories about some of the idiotic and sometimes downright hateful assumptions about the audience's intelligence today. Well, the source is going to tell you a bit in a minute, but, we've got Joe, who's been in the media. I mean, this is shocking, Joe. I thought you lot, who are all, I say you're all on big books. I know that's not true, media producers and TV executives and stuff. But, you get this idea that, that they make sure there's representation. But we do also hear, don't we, Joe, that they're doing things by formula.
Well, what shocked me, because I've been out of the scene, I would say pretty much out. Let's say I've been out of it professionally for about 10 years, but I keep an eye on it. I'm still, I do odds and sods. But very few shows were ever written as they went. And it's been very clear that a lot of this was written as it went, going by all the setups that fell, all the mystery boxes that fell, all the teasers. Russell T. Davies just felt like having Anita Dobson, so he'll figure her out later, so we'll just drop her in. That's not how you make a show. It's certainly not how I was taught how to make shows, and I'm surprised he was given, who gets all that budget and doesn't have storyboards, story arcs, everything mapped out 100%. And they did it with Star Wars as well, and look what happened. And that way of doing things doesn't work. And I really don't know how it came about that they let them do that. And see if any of you have got the courage to go back and watch the Gatwa shows. I mean, today was quite traumatic for me. Is that you can see how many things was set up that failed, how many points were made that went nowhere. Like, I bring this up that it was so important to ask pronouns at one point, yet it never happens again. And Dot and Bubble, you would have thought they went on with pronouns, but there was no pronouns there. It wasn't consistent.
Oh, it was.
And there's just so many things that were bad, terrible, crap writing.
Well, you even have, when we first see him in the 60th with Tennant, Tennant's doctor, and he's in his pants, and he gives Tennant's doctor a cuddle, and he says, that's basically, amazing. This is why I can be the doctor and you can effectively take a rest, because I'm free of all of the burdens. But then we get to later in season 2 where he's torturing people.
Yeah.
So that's not letting go of a burden, is it? That's you're worse than what you were when you were Tennant's doctor. So again, this is RTD, who has said before that he only works on a first draft. And it's clear to see in those seasons why it's so bad, because he is working on a first draft. And again, it makes you're right, Joe. He corrects himself. He alters things as he goes along. The bi-generation was going to be a one-off thing, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden it changed into, oh, hang on a minute. Now the Rani can do it as well. He's a walking contradiction.
That's mad. I know. And yet, surely the villains and the aliens, rather than being some multimillionaire or billionaire, a Donald Trump style person, a working class lad, conspiracy theorist, can't we just have our villains like this?
Still only a police box.
Yes,
but with Lynx's new weapons.
Excuse me, could you tell me where the nearest telescope?
After me, dogs, through the forest!
Oh, it must be some sort of pageant.
Who's there? Hey, what are you doing? Get off!
What places did she get here?
This is a rag-dig joke. It's not funny.
That's all we need.
Hey, there's Doctor Who, everyone.
Yeah. Now, whether he's working class or there's a gender there or he's a he or she, I don't care. He's a spudhead. I love him.
That's so great. Pertwee was such a kick-ass Doctor, wasn't he? You gotta love him.
Oh yeah. But isn't that a villain? Isn't that a monster? Isn't that
Yeah.
what he wants in Doctor Who? And
Yeah,
Big
but
freaky villain.
you wouldn't have him now though, because you know RTD wouldn't do that, because he'd go and he was putting his tongue out in a luring sexual way, so he clearly cannot be allowed in the current era of Doctor Who.
Oh,
It's ableist.
like Brendan.
Ableist because of his big head.
mind you, I'm sorry, but Stephen Moffat's, you know, the Paternoster Gang. Hello, there was a bit of actually. Yeah, excuse me. It's been going on in New Who. Upskirting. Matt Smith was underneath. Was it Elizabeth I's skirt? I mean, what was all that about? I'm in schools telling kids off, saying you're not allowed to do this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, on Doctor Who, Stephen Moffat writes a scene where it happens, and it's funny. Wow.
Is there a flag for having intimacies with aliens? Is there a name for that? Have we got one?
Joe, you are not going there. Are you adding another letter?
Deviancy.
yeah. LGBT.
Sea devil stuff got me, but then they're not alien. They're terrestrial. So what would a sea devil relation? Sorry.
Oh, you've seen that in the spin-off. You know what happens? You grow fins. Oh my gills and everything. Oh my god. No, that's a bad. Now everybody, Garbage Who, you know him. He's been giving me on the quiet. Knight Rider is going to be phenomenal. You watch the reality of it coming soon. He's been busting a gut on it. And then he, now and again, it's a bit like when you do fish and chips and I get what we call the scraps. I love the scraps. And the Queen Bat. Now, you know, I am bothered about the Queen Bat, everybody. You know, a lot of you aren't. And you're not right on, you lot. I'm woker than you. So here we go. The Queen Bat, as you've never seen her before. Here we go.
How is she?
She's dying, Doctor.
You know this cure Professor Jacket's discovered.
The milk of the queen bats, but the dormant queens cannot be reached. There's little oxygen in those levels.
You know where the queen bats are?
Of course.
Now, show me the route.
She's dying, Doctor. She's dying, Doctor.
Open your mouth. You must drink this. I see Professor Jacket's newest stuff. Good old Jacket.
It's a vibe.
You got the bat's milk?
Only enough for you.
That's the unfinished story. You see, Professor Jacket's newest stuff. I wanted, if I could, I'd have had Ernie the fastest milk cat in the West music. I really would have. So you see, John, that's the truth, isn't it? I mean, that Queen Bat must have been furious.
Yeah, I don't know how you managed to get all those milk bottles up the cave though, but that's for another story. And did the bat collapse because it had been completely drained of
Yeah,
milk?
because as you know, when you type in certain words in AI, me and Garbage know this pretty well. It's against policy, so we weren't going to ever be able to show you, you know what, you
It's
know.
probably for the best, to be honest with you.
She would have been the most flat-chested queen bat in history. So thank you very much, Michael Nemo. Very generous as ever. If I, as a Generation X, misgender someone, it's because I was conditioned a certain way. I don't need to be treated like I'm a piece of... The activist mindset loses a humane way of educating people. Well, it becomes almost authoritarian. You get told how to speak, how to listen. It's a good point, well made, actually, Michael Nemo. And of course, my Hoopets know how to thank you. With your good.
I'll treat the wife to a blue rinse.
So yes, so Chris Eccleston had a lot to say, but I want to be fair because we're all Doctor Who fans here, and so we had that the 50s coronation episode with David Tennant and Billy Piper. The dad was quite an abusive, nasty dad, wasn't he? Nasty piece of work. So we had bad working class representation there. Then I've mentioned Ryan and Graham, who, to be honest, as a lot of people have said in the thread, Ryan became a stereotype. He had dyspraxia, and that was it, but it was never mentioned again. Graham, we all know the scene when he thought he might have cancer. He was a widow. He'd lost his wife. None of that was played out if you really wanted to. He was just a go-getter. But we've got Grandad Wilf Mott. Now there's good working class representation. I'm sorry, this was RTD doing it well, wasn't it?
100%. A beloved character played by a sensational actor. You know, it was a joy to see that, and it's amazing the change, isn't it? Because this was peak for me. This was where I was, I had family and I had people I was working with saying, "Did you see Doctor Who the other night? Oh, it was fantastic, wasn't it?" Yeah. So now, and people are like, will contact me and go, "Did you just see that nonsense? It was terrible. How did they get away with that?" That's where we are.
And actually, I'm trying to think, Joe, of all of New Who, really, working class men. I think Wilf Mott really stood out and was well depicted, well written. I think Bernard Cribbins actually brought even more to it. And I think RTD started to feed off that because all this military stuff, all this veteran stuff, I loved him. He was, I even loved him in the trailers, when he'd sit at the allotment with Donna and they had the telescope and they had that lovely, I mean, you, Joe, often when you text me, talk about your granddad and you think, I love this relationship that was depicted on Doctor Who here. This worked.
Well, that's flashbacks of why we watched it. It was a family show, so having a grandpa in there really works well. These characters, you can't go wrong with a character like that that we're all going to gravitate and love. Plus, I mean, it was such a beautiful actor that you'd get in deep trouble if you made him look foolish. And I'm glad he was treated properly, actually, considering where things went and could have went. I'm glad that he was treated with such care.
He was great. He was great in the Dalek Invasion of Earth. He was great in the the Wombles, the Railway Children. But John, I really do enjoy that modest scene. He'd had the lovely build-up with David Tennant when they were in space and they were chatting about war and facing troubles, and it was just David Tennant and Bernard Cribbins' lovely little scene. And then later on it paid off when he was in the cubicle and he did the 4 knocks.
Oh, wonderful stuff. And just the bit where he kind of says, "Oh, it's all right, I've had my time," and that's a wonderful moment because you have the rage of Tennant's 10th Doctor, who we all know he's going to sacrifice himself for Wilf. He's going to do it, but he has that rage. Well, you're not remotely important. I could have been so much more. But the way Bernard Cribbins plays Wilf there, and it's like he sees, and you see the facial expressions as well of where he's getting upset because he sees the Doctor breaking down, and he knows about this. The Doctor's talked to him about this. He's going to die. And then he's gutted because he's realized that he's the cause of what's going to kill the 10th Doctor. It's a wonderful scene, and I never get tired of it. It's wonderful stuff. And again, I miss this guy, Bernard Cribbins. I think he was sensational.
His character as a working class veteran. Remember, there were lovely scenes with him and Jacqueline, his daughter, when in the Stolen Earth, he goes, I voted for her, Harriet Jones. She said, no, you did not. And then, of course, she's taken the mick out of what he looks at online. And then he's trying to head, when they celebrate, when the Earth's put back into the right orbit, he's out there, and he goes into the streets and he's shouting at the stars. And remember, he took on a Dalek with a spud gun. He went for it.
But you can also argue the fact that his daughter, Donna's mum in that show, she treated him terribly. That's another example. Yeah. And he wasn't. What was it he says in the Christmas that at the end of time, he's going down the road for a quiet little sniff. He snicks out to go out with the silver cloak, on the bus.
I love do you know what? All those veterans, June Whitfield, all of them, wasn't that lovely? The man from Heidi High, they were all on that bus. I loved it. It was one of those beautiful things about, a lot of old people being cheeky and still being young at heart and getting on the bus and looking for the Doctor. I loved that.
And do you know one of the most wonderful things I loved about Wilf and the way Bernard Cribbins portrayed it? And again, I will credit RTD for this because it was how it was written, was when they're on the spaceship, like you were saying, Brendan, and he talks about, I was over there at the end of the mandate and we were being shot at. And then I'm not sure if it's there or later on, but the 10th Doctor says to him, and you could have killed the Master stone dead and you didn't. I loved you for that. And it shows again, you can have a white working class character like that who brings a gun because he's going like, worst case scenario, you might have to kill someone to save your life, Doctor. He has the opportunity at any point to shoot the Master and he chooses not to. So you can have a strong white male character and it doesn't diminish anything. And in fact, that's a classic example of a role model for kids.
Yeah.
There.
And on top of that, Turn Left. I actually really applaud that episode by RTD because it attacked xenophobia and everything. And it showed you how very quickly the country could change. And Bernard Cribbins' character, again, was really caring because they were cheek by jowl with other families in a house, weren't they? You get the kitchen, you get the bathroom, and they were all like that, and they were all from different ethnic minorities and everything. And the Wilf Mott character was stronger than his daughter and was actually going, well, I fought with these different people, and I this is the same man. RTD1 and RTD2 was the same man, and yet he wrote working class men so well in RTD1's era and so horribly and angrily in the later era. And I just want to be fair on that.
Yeah.
So the Wilf Mott, I think, is a damn good example of when RTD got it right. But of course, we play into all the other elements of what goes on. Now, my source, obviously he wanted to say stuff. So of course, I'll do my usual little jig here. Oh, it's decided to mess on. Oh, I love it when it messes on. Oh,
my camera's terrible. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Yeah. Sorry, sauce. I don't give you a build up tonight. I'll just give you some sauce instead. Sorry, sauce. I didn't give him the big build up. Hey, God, I had the video ready and it's taken it off.
Well, that's the end of the relationship now, I'm afraid, mate. That's it. You've blown it.
It's a dysfunctional relationship now, yeah. So I asked my source what he thought of what Chris Eccleston was saying. And of course, he's a media producer too. And he said, Brendan, there's no directive from on high, number one. Shows are commissioned in waves. Fear drives the decisions, so commissioners mostly won't back storytelling with a point of view. How does that resonate, Joe?
It doesn't, because there's something very rotten in the hierarchy then. That's all that's telling me, that they're not qualified to be in charge of producing content. That's all that tells me. Fear drives the decisions. It's usually money and profit that drives it. So you would go to, okay, what's proven to work? What brings in money? A lot of the time that's good characters that you can merchandise. So you'd be thinking about character development to get on the shelves and all these things, where they haven't. It's all been, as far as I can tell, agenda driven recently, rather than financial or what it used to be anyway. It's to me, it's been nothing but this very left woke agenda pushing at the cost of everything: storytelling, merchandising, everything.
You see, John, when I've talked to the source about one day I'd like to write my lockdown diaries in teaching and all the dramas and fun and, the mixture of life. And he says, well, you go for it, Brendan. But he said there'll be changing certain things. And I got the impression that me, this white working class bloke from Middlesbrough, was going to be the first thing would disappear.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I back up what Joe said. I think there is clearly a directive, within the industry, and it is diversity, equity, and inclusion at all costs. That comes first. Storytelling comes second. And, it's no surprise, is it, that within the last 48 hours, it's been announced that, BBC are laying off over 2,000 people.
Yeah.
And again, and Disney. And again, why is that? Yeah, why is that? Could it be the fact that you've been putting out such diversity, equity, inclusion pap over the last decade that people are just not buying your products anymore? It's become such a joke now that when people now sit down to watch Doctor Who, they already know that it's called woke Who, because they know that they're going to get lectured to for an hour, and it's not even going to be a subtle lecture like you could get away with. It's going to be a hammer over the head kind of lecture, and that's where we are now. And until they fix that, it's not going to be resolved. And I agree with what Eccleston said originally. I get what the source is saying here, but I don't agree with it. I think there is a directive, and until they change that, they're going to continue having bad figures.
Well, obviously, the source is saying, because I asked him directly, is there a directive? And he obviously is able to pitch to the BBC and ITV and that. So basically, he knows their rules and he knows what they want. And he said there's no directive, but he just says, but I think decisions are made by just fear. So basically, kitchen sink dramas like you got in the 60s, like Kathy Come Home, they probably wouldn't be made now. And then he continued, everything has to be tick-boxed into mediocrity. There are plenty of white middle-aged men on TV and film in a diverse range of roles and stories, though, Brendan. Yes, there are a lot of villains, but that's also real life too. So he kind of is kicking back a little bit, I think, on where Chris Eccleston is kind of going with part of his attack by saying, hey, there's plenty of bloody white middle-aged men on TV. Don't you worry. But of course, everything has to be tick-boxed into mediocrity, I think, is my concern, Joe.
I just think we're coming back to this argument that does my head in, because Hollywood and BBC in Britain and forgive me for saying it, but it was a white populace writing for each other and entertaining each other. The same way Bollywood is Indians writing for each other and entertaining each other. Like Tolkien loved Nordic history, so his work produced Lord of the Rings, which is getting called racist, which is ridiculous. He was writing something based on a love of Nordic and Christian white storytelling. And we still are in that majority now. So So why we have to be expected to always represent everyone else and everything we're doing now is ridiculous. And it's not expected in other countries, other industries like that. And they need to calm down about it, because we're getting everything is you put on the BBC now, you're getting the same damn show. It doesn't matter if it's a drama.
Yeah.
You can't have a white couple anymore. It has to be a mixed race couple. Why?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, what about this, John? Hey, I'll show you this as a nice example, because John is dying to see episodes, and
I really am. I really am.
So, you know, the source has said, you know, he agrees with part of what Chris Eccleston is saying. You know, it's done by formula, poor writing, fear. You know, it's driven by mediocrity. What about 73 Yards then, when we had a certain politician character? Here we go.
Now's the time to vote. You know, I am a son of Wales. No more. I want Great Britain to say no more. So yeah, when did NATO ever, you know, fire a nuclear missile? 2031, the Great Russian War, not a single rocket.
That you actually want to fire a nuclear missile.
We'll cut that bit out, right?
Okay, everyone, let's take 10.
Are you with us? What about her, girl over there? Is she one of ours? What's her name?
Marty Bridges.
Boy's name?
Between you and me, I don't know, I think he gives me the shivers. Oh, he is a monster.
Okay, so that was another character in this new Who season 1 and 2 era, where we had, let's be honest, it was quite clear it was taking a bit of the Brexit kind of campaign and the characters involved, because it was all the same paraphernalia, wasn't it, Joe? I thought in what I saw there.
It could be applied to today. If you actually listen to what he said, he didn't actually say anything that terrible to me when I was okay, I don't see how it all fits together. We're being told that he's terrible to his girlfriend behind the scenes, and he wants to fire nuclear bombs. Of course that's terrible. He's been interviewed by a Southeast Asian man as the journalist that's taken him on. So if you look at the juxtaposition there, good guy interviewing him, you know, the bad white guy there again. That's a minor point. I was just sort of looking at how the casting was in that episode. But he didn't actually, he was just saying that he wanted controlled borders and things, which is a big topic right now, so it's quite timely for that. But they made a big deal out of him and then crushed him like you know, they really amped him up, and then he was just a sort of nothing burger as well in that story. So I don't know where it was a very confusing message, because his fans in the supporters room were diverse, which thank goodness, because you had it wasn't all white people in that room supporting him, which could have set us off. So at least that was taken into account.
I thought this was John, I thought this was an interesting dig. It was only half the episode. It was the second half. It's the half that everyone says was a bit so you get this character on the right of politics. He was prime minister for a second, it seemed. Not very nice, as Joe said, to his girlfriend. A lot of it was implied, but we never really got anywhere with it. But then the big 73 yards moment was she went 73 yards away from him. So this woman went and whispered in his ear. He then screams and he resigned. And so basically the whole kind of attack seems to be that some of these politicians on the right, maybe, who are representing a lot of working class opinion at the moment. So in other words, they're kicking two things going on here. I find RTD's kicking two targets, which is kicking the working class person and their vote. And he's saying the people you think are great are cowards. There was an element of that when, again, I could show the Time Warrior again and go, can we just have a Sontaran, please? I really don't want to get bogged down into, you know, to me, my argument is most of the politicians, there's a lot of froth from all of them. I don't think any side's better than another. And I think people who get tribal are silly. So honestly, in a nutshell, John, I just found the script in here and the characterization was having a go at obviously Brexit. It was having a go at those who voted for Brexit and things like that. The working class vote, should be silenced. And I just thought and then it's saying you're such a fool for voting for people like him who's a coward and all froth. So, John, I don't think this is a good look, really, when we could have gone to an alien planet.
Well, again, it's not. And again, I did see this episode. And again, this episode, when it first started, to be fair, for the first 20 minutes, I thought this feels like a good episode of Doctor Who. It was creepy in the pub. And then it went into all this nonsense because, again, I keep saying he only came back to send a message of what he thinks about everything. And again, I'm like you, Brendan. I am sick and tired of these people coming into beloved franchises or IPs. I hate saying franchises or IPs, but it's the easiest thing right now. And they keep stamping down these ridiculous messages. They're not subtle with it at all. They're incapable of being subtle. And again, what also annoys me with these people, and RTD is a classic example of this, they are in their bubble so much they can only write about one particular direction. If he was still writing Doctor Who now, and again, if that Christmas episode still happens, is he going to bring out stuff about what his beloved political party is doing, has done since they've been in power? No, he won't. He'll completely ignore that because that's not relevant and it doesn't fit his argument or viewpoint.
We see within
that show a balanced approach to all of it.
But within that story, like everybody seems to say, 73 Yards started really well. It was, spooky, atmospheric. It was really, you had that kind of village under siege kind of mentality. And then, I mean, Joe, can you see the reason in a script where you had to have, because that whole politician, it was to prove the point of 73 Yards. That's all it was. That was the climax. And then he lost his job. So basically, you could have had somebody else had the woman screaming in their ear. We didn't even need that politician in it. I thought he was in it, Joe, to then be later on in the series.
Again, it's a few of these episodes of like with the other episode, it had that American Werewolf in London-esque vibe, didn't it? With the weirdos in the pub. And I'm there for that. I'm loving it. And that girl, bless her, she carried that episode. She was only 18. And I have to give her absolute points for carrying that. She was excellent in that.
It's better than Shooty.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when he came back at the end, you're like, oh, it changed the tone a bit. But he was onto this great vibe with this spooky village and this character outside. And then it just sort of, it's like he just threw all the shopping out the bags and just went over here and made a message and then put in this, we all want to know what was said to make them terrified. And then he left us hanging about that. We didn't know what was said. And then I don't like it when he does this to companions. When the companions have to live like 70 years without the Doctor and age through a story. And then all of a sudden it snaps back and that they did it to Amy and Rory, and I just don't like it when they make. I don't like those storylines, and yet again they did that, and it was just like at the end, none of that mattered, and we're into magic now, not space exploration, because we've got a fairy ring, isn't that lovely?
Do you know what? Do you know what? Also in this episode, because this is one I did watch, is also where Ruby is sat with the guy that she's been seeing, and then she basically belittles him in the bar. And basically saying, yeah, it was all you, and effectively even as a pop at his sexual performance. And I sat there and I watched that and I was thinking, this is just terrible writing at any level. It's terrible. And again, that's all you've got to say. You've got nothing else to say. You cannot write sci-fi. That is obvious. You cannot go to alien worlds because you're not subtle enough to do a Malcolm Hulke type story. And to bridge that into a story. The one thing from this era has been found out is the fact that RTD had good writers around him in the first era that helped bridge that and helped to boost him up. That's how I see it now. Now, when he's pretty much out on his own and he brought the activist writers in, he's been shown quite categorically to be poor. at this.
Yes.
Michael Nemo, I didn't see the second super chat. Garbage just reminded me here. Jack's final joke on the Doctor was that it was actually a kin bat. Could be. David Harding, I get it that things have changed since the 60s to 80s, but you've still got to find the best possible way to cast the biggest net to get the maximum number of viewers.
Yeah,
now,
and they don't.
Let's have a look. I had another one I was going to flash up there, and I'll find it in a minute. But our relentless kind of exploration of what was said continues. Oh my gosh, Dot and Bubble.
Okay, concentrate to come in. Let me in. Whoa! Oops.
That's the first time I've ever done that.
Oh, no, well, so every day we walk past monsters.
No, I mean, you're Ricky September.
Yep, every day. I just stay in my apartment and read.
This is so manual.
Hey, I think this is it. This is the conduit to the river.
I'm with Ricky September.
What, Ricky? Oh, nice one.
It's hot.
Hands off.
Yeah, the codes, so we can get out of here.
Sorry, yeah. Hi, Ricky. Wow.
Hi.
Hang on,
They're going to eat me!
Lindy!
You might be next, but we're safe in this room. And even if they do chase after you, they're slow. What we'll do is punch in 30 more numbers into this keypad, and then we're gone. I've got this.
Oh, Ricky, babes.
Oh, he's a keeper. I keep getting lucky, don't I?
Dot
off! Double down, dot off! You will obey me, dot off!
Lindy, do the numbers!
I've got it!
Go through! Don't worry about me!
He was born Richard Coombs, because I know everything about him. He changed his name.
Lindy.
He said he had other people to save. I couldn't stop him. Suppose I should say thank you. But I thought the homeworld would just come and save us.
Or you could come with us.
We all chose escape, didn't we? So we could...
I could carry you to the stars.
We couldn't travel with you.
Because you, sir, are not one of us.
I mean, screen-to-screen contact is just about acceptable, but...
Like, you have a magic box. Excuse me, sir. That's voodoo.
I mean, do you know what? The world at the moment is going on about toxic masculinity and they're meaning white working class lads. This series is toxic women.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she was working class. She seemed a bit kind of, I don't know, she was out of worldly, but she was horrible. I don't know what class Ricky September was, but he was a decent bloke. He was trying to help her. He was trying to calm her down. Decent bloke shafted by a woman seemed to be the story to me, Joe.
It was also interesting, the aesthetic of that was, you know, like the ultimate Aryan look. And the guy that was meant to be the heartthrob looked, he was very androgynous looking, very girly boy. And they're all swooning over him. And, well, a lot of us weren't. He looks a bit like RTD'S real life husband, actually. That kind of look. Which yes. I thought, oh, yeah, I wonder why he got cast. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. But,
no, you're right. You're 100% right. It is. It's literally, it's almost like his casting show, you know, for dating. You know, it's that bizarre. It really is. I mean, thankfully, as I said, I didn't watch all of this season, and Brendan has been incredibly nice and friendly to give me some lovely highlights of the show for me to enjoy and cherish for the rest of time. But I mean, again, wasn't this the one where he says, "Oh, we want to do Black Mirror"? But you know, because Black Mirror is great, and this is, I think we said way back. I said to you on a show, I said, this is where Doctor Who is in trouble, because Doctor Who, when it came back, was a trendsetter. People were like, "Oh my gosh, how good is Doctor Who?" Now, in RTD2 era, it was trying to copy other things. And again,
Bridgerton.
If you're going to do Black Mirror, you ask Charlie Brooker to come in and write an episode of Doctor Who. You don't do it yourself. And again, it's I mean, you've told me about this episode, Brendan. I've seen bits of it, and it, again, everything about this show, I think if I had sat watching this season all the way through, my diversity, equity, and inclusion and woke barometer probably would have just exploded at this point.
It's just that okay, I thought the story was slow. There was a context, there was all the rest of it, but it was an idea. That's all I'll say. That you had slugs who made the tractators look like they were blooming basketball players. You know, they were so slow. And it was only that stupid dot at the end that was the lethal thing. Then and actually, because they were all pastel colors and everything, I know it was a look and it was a vibe, but I hated it. It was like watching Mordrin Undead when they've all got those little floral outfits. And I was thinking, what the hell am I watching? I like Mordrin Undead overall before everybody shoots me down.
Yeah, same.
But I don't know. Come on, be honest with me, everybody. Mordrin Undead, when you saw the 8 aliens, the monsters in floral, foamy, pastel
gliding.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I have to say, look, if we're talking about, you know, toxic traits and treating white people badly, just look at how the Brigadier treated Hippo in Mordred Undead. You know, if you did a bit more exercise, not only would your body be less disgusting.
I tell you what, Doctor Who obviously has an issue with weight, because Donna Noble slags off in the specials as David Tennant for being a skinny man. You know, honestly, what is this? I didn't know it was like. So yes, Dot and Bubble I found intriguing. The bit at the end, of course, we all have heard about it and know about it.
That was a brick, that was.
Yeah. No, and that was his first scene, wasn't it? But the working class angle, I think, is getting confused. And I'm trying to be really fair, Joan and John, because in this one, it seemed to be depicting, if she's working class as a girl, she's awful and vacuous. She's vacant. She's blank. She's superficial. It's all about whether she's got likes. Okay, it's got a nice social comment, you could argue there, or parody or satire or whatever. But it was so awful about people. It was a horrible one. And then remember, Robot Revolution, Alan Budd is allowed to die, and high kick, the Doctor doesn't care. And in this story, these people are vile, and the Doctor says, "I'll save you all." What the hell's going on?
And it leads to this problem that Gatwa's Doctor has of having no proper firm identity, no ideals he's stuck to. There's not a template to him beyond Wardrobe Doctor and Gay Doctor. There's nothing.
No.
What else is going for him aside from cries, fancies men, likes clothes?
Well, we know from the show, and you're 100% right, Joe, but we know from that series that, you know, he'll let people die and he'll clear off if he fancies a guy. You know, if he thinks he's going to get it on, you know, with his Time Lord Wang, he's out of there in a second, you know. Sorry, I couldn't resist tonight. I really couldn't. Yeah. So he will do that. That Doctor, again, I keep saying Doctor, but he's not the Doctor. There's everything I've seen about Ncuti Gatwa's interpretation. There is no Doctor there whatsoever. And that's a fault of him. That's a fault of Russell T Davies. The fact that we're now talking about, and again, this is where I think I've slipped into some parallel universe that is, you know, it's like Inferno, but it's the LGBTQ version of it at the moment. And I'm trapped here because I never thought that I would be sat here talking about the fact that they've got an openly gay Doctor, you know, when we've never had an issue in the past with sexuality of the Doctor. You know, I always go back to City of Death with the Fourth Doctor. You're a beautiful woman, probably. You know, the Doctor doesn't see it like that. Yeah.
Or telling Clara she got makeup on, he can't tell, and she's, you know,
the only girl he loves is the TARDIS. He calls the TARDIS the old girl. You know, that's the Doctor, asexual. It's, but again, you know, white working class men and women made this country, you know, and I am tired of them being belittled, not just on television and in movies, but also, you know, in the latest, you know, articles that people write and what politicians say. I want to. We should be proud of our heritage. We should be proud of our country. And again, Brendan, you've mentioned it before. I'm going to back you up 100% on it. I'm so tired, very, very tired of the fact we have to talk on these shows about politics because of what they've done to Doctor Who. I want to get back to a Doctor Who where I can go on an adventure for an hour and I can go, that was fantastic, because the world is a crap place at the moment. I want to escape it for an hour.
Yeah. And we will give the thing that there were always political messages in Doctor Who now and again. It wasn't every bloody story, like Curse of Peladon, etc. But the point is, it was so distantly related to what was going on Earth that you could actually just sit there and watch it and not feel attacked if you were on the wrong side of the argument.
It was like you guys are saying, on that Saturday, you go and watch it to escape. You're in this world. It is so well thought out. We've got this character that we know inside out. He's our best pal. Whereas nowadays, the kids come home from school. They're getting this in their face in school 24/7. Human rights charter acts, this rights, that rights, LGBTQ flags, everything. And then they come home and that's what they're getting, more of that. There's no escaping for them at all from all this nonsense.
Sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to say, sorry. Yeah, you go.
No, I was just trying to show everybody that we're trying to kind of still pin our opinions based on all the information that's out there. The BBC commissioned their own report on, are we representing the British public in 2026? So you heard what Chris Eccleston said. You've heard what we've said. We've had some Doctor Who examples. There's more to come. And you've heard from the source. And so I've got just a few examples about working class representation according to the report. According to conversations with BBC staff, especially commissioners, you see what the source said, showed that when they thought about diversity, the BBC focused mainly on race and maybe disability, but not class. There were the characteristics top of their mind. Geography, class and age were less often brought up spontaneously, and discussions around these topics sometimes had to be prompted. In other words, if you're pitching a script, if it's about race, we'll do the Barbers one. We'll set it in Nigeria. You've got the job, mate. You've never written a Doctor Who script before, but come on in. I've got this story about a working class lad in Middlesbrough who's zapped off and taken off to the planet Zog. Oh no, I don't. There's nothing in it for us here.
Yeah, been abducted. Doctor got to save him. There's a great story straight away. You know.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was going to also bring up the fact, from my era, and I will shout out Michael Herbert here, because Michael Herbert's great, because if I do say something and it's wrong, Michael always says, well, that kind of happened in Doctor Who in the past. And I'm like, thanks, Michael. I'm willing to accept when I'm wrong. But he's right about when he talks about Malcolm Hulke, and he's a great expert. Malcolm Hulke, as we've said many a time, he would leave it up to you to decide on what side you fell, and I've said the Silurians is a great example of that at the end of the story.
Yeah.
But I'll also bring up an example from my childhood and my Doctor's era, Remembrance of the Daleks. When we've got that sign, and again, this is where I'm a fan of Andrew Cartmore, I've said before, and what he would do with Doctor Who now with an even bigger budget would be, I'd really enjoy it. When you get that sign on the door, no colours, on the window, when she's in Mike's mum's guest house, B&B, that didn't make me think, that didn't make my parents think that's out of order. That is right. We're turning this off. No, it said what it wanted to say. Then it moved on. That's where it's done well, and it's done appropriately, because it's basically talking about something from that particular period, which was a thing at the time. We haven't. Now we haven't got something different. We got a time where the people in the bubble, like RTD, they perceive that there's an issue, that they're under attack, they're under threat.
But like this is saying, these talk to BBC staff, and the BBC staff think they're doing diversity by doing race and disability. They're forgetting that class is an issue, because they're all very happy down there. Grizz Redford in The Curse of Peladon, I loved the fact that the Ice Warriors had evolved into a more thoughtful species And I was disappointed in The Monster of Peladon when they reverted to type. Isn't it funny? I know The Curse of Peladon has gone up in my estimation. I always wanted to see The Monster of Peladon repeat. You know, that was the one that I grabbed. I liked it at the time. Zach Ritten agrees with you. Remembrance of the Daleks kicked ass. Continuing here, just to kind of give you the kind of, you know, situation here. Continuing dramas or soaps, well, obviously Doctor Who's in this category. An ongoing source of representation of working class men and women, EastEnders, Waterloo Road. We've had The Archers, The Casualty. In other dramas, the BBC also achieves a good reflection of the UK. For example, of the 39 original TV drama types transmitted, more than half was set in heavily featured working class environments. So they seem to be happy about what's going on. But I think Doctor Who's in a special category. I'm going to come to it in a minute. We believe the BBC does represent working class people. However, it varies by genre. And here, I think this is the point. And according to audience groups and people we interviewed, more could be done, particularly in the choice of presenters in news. We believe it is not so much the quantity of working class representation, which is the issue, but the way working class communities are portrayed. John and Joe, my issue is that second sentence there. It varies in genre. And I think when we hit sci-fi, the sci-fi showrunner gets free rein to go off-piste. So we do need good working class representation in EastEnders and everything in the news. But in sci-fi, I think working class representation is being done down now.
Yeah. I would agree on that. I think they use it as, oh, it's sci-fi, so we can use that for box ticking 101, you know. And I've said this when this first diversity charter was coming in, and I had major reservations about it because I thought to myself, yeah, well, again, Bernard, I respect you for saying that, but I'm sorry, but it's infected Doctor Who, so that's why we're talking about it.
But Bernard, you can make your own choice. But what I want to say here is I'm not going to waste my night doing a program when I don't think it's relevant to my program. I've got things to do. It's a wider issue. You might say your opinion is allowed. I don't see any value in this discussion by applying it to Doctor Who. I've just given you 3 case studies. I've given you 3 or 4 good case studies, and I've got more to come. Bernard, which bit have you not been listening to? You have free choice, but if you think I've got 2 hours to waste of my life talking about a subject that's not relevant to Doctor Who, you've got me bamboozled.
Yeah, I mean, great point. And I was going to say as well that the problem I had when they brought in this charter, and I still have this problem today, you can have your diversity quota, you can do it, but it's organic diversity, not forced diversity. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is you don't have to put it in every damn show. You can have a show with straight white characters. You can have a show with gay characters. You can write various different things. You do not have to have it in every single show and you shovel it in. That's the problem. And
that's why they're all the same. It's the same meal we're eating all the time now.
Yeah.
And the problem with Doctor Who is it doesn't know who or what it is because it's so busy ticking diversity inclusion boxes that it's forgotten. I mean, we say sci-fi. It's not sci-fi. RTD told us it's fantasy now. And there's no identity to it. There's nothing to hold on to. Nothing.
I mean, as Warbs is saying here, nowadays, an offending opinion is chosen as a theme and a story is built around it. Doctor Who just isn't a show for that. It's escapism from it. By the way, Warbs, that's the easy version. A good sci-fi writer will maybe see the offending topic or a controversial topic. They will wrap it in a package that has subtlety, but the clever reader or viewer can spot it, but not feel offended if it's taken their viewpoint on or not siding with them. And you can still enjoy your escapism. The thing is, as John said, unlike when he did The Writer's Tale, it's all first draft stuff. And it's done so fast, it's ridiculous. So basically, you're falling into tropes and stereotypes and caricatures and clunky writing. And by the way, this isn't just my opinion. That's why Disney walked. That's why Disney said we're leaving, because you are missing every target audience. Tonal inconsistency. You're not listening to feedback. Nobody knows what this bloody show's about. 1 minute it's space babies and jokes, then it's Devil's Chords, but the Beatles aren't in it, and you can't play any of their music. And, you know, it's just all over the shop. I'm not saying that. Disney is. That's the
issue. Well, again, you know, Joe made a good point as well about, you know, the fact that they're all the same now. And I've said before on your shows, Brendan, I could easily see Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor turning up in Star Trek Academy and vice versa, because they are all exactly the same types of one-dimensional characters that all they do is talk about their sexual preferences and talk about their relationship issues. There is no arc, there's no development in them whatsoever. And again, somebody serious, I hope at some point will get back into these organizations and basically going, sorry, why are we giving you money to do this? This is nonsense. This is not very good stuff. But I think we're a long way off it, sadly. I think we're stuck with this for quite some time. Well, sorry to be the downer.
Well, look at David Harding, good sci-fi's 1984, V for Vendetta, Animal Farm, The Handmaid's Tale. It's out there. What's it called? The Squid Game. That's good sci-fi, really, in a way, isn't it? That's kind of takes you a different version of
things.
things.
The commissioners we need to be looking at. Who's signing off these shows? Who's commissioning these shows? That's where the problem is. We need to, until they go, we're going to get the same crap.
You've just had the controversy about the new Animal Farm animated movie that's coming out, because they've come out and said, oh, sorry, we've changed this from the book. This is going to be an attack about capitalism. So they've changed it already in that. So that's another example again. And again, you made the point about Lord of the Rings earlier, Joe, as well. Yeah. That they will try and co-opt anything they want to do. But the thing I find fascinating, and this is Doctor Who as well, they don't make it make sense in the universe as well. They don't explain how that can be or why is that the case. It's just lazy, quick like that, and then it's move on.
Yeah, and it's ambushing loads of things. I mean, if you think of how the Brigadier's whole legacy's been wrecked by what they've done with his daughter and Unit and that. Zach Whitten, RTD2 and Bad Wolf are 100% concerned about DEI box ticking and 0% focused on good storytelling. Well, just taking my source, saying they're driven by fear, they're driven by box ticking, it leads to mediocrity. It's shocking. But as I was saying to Bernard, it is relevant to Doctor Who. That's why I'm sat here on my backside instead of doing something else. Here's another example.
Don't forget the Who pets need your super chats to save them.
I've been looking for you ever since, for a whole year. So the last thing I expected was to land you on my podcast. Aliens, right?
Aliens are real. We all know that.
Some trolls online, all this talk of monsters, is just a cover story for something else. It was just me and my mum growing up. I'm your boyfriend.
Wait a minute.
How would do, boss? Nailed it.
What the hell is going on?
We are think tank, exposing the lies perpetuated by Unit, and we're live streaming, so don't get triggered. I've had to listen to your stories for weeks now. It has been a chore getting to know you.
We'll sue. We will bankrupt you.
The only monsters out here are Unit.
So you
one's collecting benefits, stealing our taxes while she lies to us. I think you're so superior. Admit to the lies. Show us the monster costumes. Show us...
You're special for all the wrong reasons. You see, I am fighting a battle on behalf of everyday people, and then along comes this noise. Relentless noise. Cowards like you, weaponizing lies. Because the only strategy you have is to wear us down. I have energy to burn and all the time in the universe.
What is this? An intervention? Are you here to save my soul?
You betrayed my friend. You die in a prison cell, alone and unloved, forgotten.
I don't accept your reality.
Brendan really appreciates.
I do appreciate. So, I mean, as another example, he's a white working class bloke. That is undeniable. We had the fact that they're obviously thick. They sit behind a keyboard. They troll around. They are full of believe in every conspiracy. They are the poison and the relentless noise, according to RTD. Puts those words into the Doctor's character. Suddenly you've got a divided audience. Bernard, I hope you're still around. That's why this is extremely relevant, because we started with Chris Eccleston saying that TV bosses need to stop making white working class men toxic villains. Conrad Clark is in the Doctor Who universe, Bernard. Hello, it is extremely relevant, isn't it, Joe?
Do you know, just watching that scene, if I came and watched that for the first time, the Doctor came across like the villain, like some mafioso there.
Yeah.
That was quite striking. There was no Doctor. There was nothing of the Doctor there. That was like a godfather threatening somebody for doing something. That was interesting to see that. Just detach for a moment, and that's how it came across.
It was, Joe, you're right. I mean, all that was a Russell T Davies avatar. That's what it was at that point. And I still laugh at that because it's so pathetically bad. Again, but wasn't he right at the end of it? Wasn't he right proving about Unit? I mean, Unit, you know, I don't agree with his methods, but certainly he did. They are an organization in RTD's era that is out of control. I mean, she gives jobs to everybody that walks past it.
Yeah. They're over bloated, I think.
And can I just say, mate, I really want to have a YouTube podcast studio like him, because I mean, what is he? He's in the Shard, I think.
Yeah.
Magic,
what's the rent on that?
Proper villain lair.
Is he monetized?
You've never seen Brendan spill his tea though, like he did in Lucky Day. No, I'm not doing that. So,
but even the world he created, that 1950s world, I know a lot of us said, well, actually, I thought it was quite pleasant. I mean, okay, put aside the nastiness about the disabled not being seen, but he didn't create the worst world ever, really, did he? It wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't well executed to think this is a terrible world he's put them in.
Yeah.
Can I just say, my nieces, when they watched that episode, they said, I got a text message after that episode, and this is one of them that I watched because I remember you talking to me, Brandon. You said you really need to watch it, so I did, and I got a message from one of my nieces, and my nieces grew up as little girls watching the Eccleston era, and they adored it, and they went through the Tennant era. They loved that, and the response I got back was, "What is this shit?" That's from girls that grew up loving Doctor Who in the Eccleston era that have just tuned out of it.
It had just turned Doctor Who. Right, you've got Doctor Who, you've got another village scenario, blah blah blah, a bit too companion heavy, of course. And then all of a sudden it turned into Scooby-Doo. And you had, men taking masks off going, I'm the park ranger. And you think, oh God, what is this? And Unit, yet again, to make a point about toxic white working class men, you've undermined and diminished the whole of Unit. Unit was much more well, hold on, Liberty Hall. Liberty Hall. But I have to say their security is so crap. Sutek was sat on the top of the TARDIS and didn't spot anything. Then in this series, of course, Conrad Clark has got people everywhere. And then, of course, he tricks a multi-national organization like Unit with costumes, masks, and a bit of a tape recording.
Yeah, and also don't forget, mate, he's valid on asking about what's going on with these with Unit, because they decide to have a monster vault in the middle of a populated residential area. They'll have it in London that they can escape and kill lots and lots of people. Wouldn't you put it in a remote area?
It was because we should be focusing on Kate's love life with a younger man, because that's all Unit ended up being about.
It's a dating agency.
I tell you what, the highlight for me on how bad that season was and how bad that episode was, and it still comes back to me when you have the diversity A team landing in the helicopter outside the pub, and they're all, they're all there getting off of it. And I at one point I was just in my head, I was going, "Here come the girls."
It was just the wheelchair Terminator woman.
Exactly.
With her rockets. Come on.
Give me any day a few soldiers, maybe they looked white working class, but soldiers outside unit and some gel guards attacking them. Give me that any day instead of all these black traitor style cars, and they all just turn up and they're all useless. They were useless in Star Beast, they're useless in everything, and of course they're run by Kate, and of course they're all blooming useless.
You're right, Brendan, about what you said about Unit, because not only did he get in early, but if he hears Kate Lethbridge-Stewart and co there basically saying about toxic white masculinity, there's probably a lot of white Unit male soldiers there probably going, do you know what? I don't want to work for you anymore. I want to be reassigned to another division, because if that's how you see us, he's got some valid points in what he's saying, then sorry, see ya, I'll go. You never had the Brigadier do that, did you?
Her A-team was Donna Noble's trans child who could make, whose skill was sewing puppets, a boy on a scooter thing, young boy, who disappeared fast enough. And that was their crack team. And this alien creature that they introduced that never paid off.
Yeah.
I was waiting for an episode featuring this.
I think he married Zoe Ball and ended up just doing. He's like the Fat Boy Slim of Unit.
But they were going to do a Unit show, weren't they? I think they were trying. Were they trying to establish that in the background with a future that these characters would come?
He was going to be. He was going to be a Sarah Jane Smith's Mr. Smith. It was going to be something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Tara.
Otherwise, it made no sense.
Tara, I think RTD and the Metro class fantasize about working class. Oh, good point, Tara, because I do think this is the danger. They talk, when you watch RTD doing any speech to any awards, you see him doing the angry about this and people censor me and I don't like these politicians and the darkness is coming. How that isn't Conrad Clark, I don't know, because to be honest, Conrad Clark is kind of saying, the enemies are there. But yes, the other thing is the Metro class don't actually know how the working class think. The BBC reporter said that. Yeah. And Chris Eccleston is saying it. And I'm saying it, Bernard. The point is, in Doctor Who, number one, sci-fi should just get away from the class crap. Let me show me Peladonian class system, and I can make my own mind up about my own, right? But when you do write that, it should be done well, and it's not, because it's bloody sci-fi fantasy drama nonsense soap opera done by RTD. So it's all very stereotyped. It's all very basic. It's all very condescending. It doesn't take us anywhere. It's illogical. I've mentioned a few examples where 1 minute he wants to save them, but he doesn't want to save them. To me, I think nearly everybody who watched that scene with Conrad Clark, I was willing on Conrad Clark because he was the cool dude. And he was the one who held his temper. I mean, talk about toxic masculinity. The only one there, as Joe said, is the Doctor. The Doctor was like a mafioso. Yeah. Conrad Clark was just saying, I mean, Conrad Clark reminded me of a cheeky 16-year-old in class going, is this an intervention? Because you're not bothering me. Are you going to get a social worker? I don't care. How do you get through to those kids? And that's all Conrad Clark presented to me. And yes, Tara, I think you're spot on. They are not working class. Very good post. They don't know what the working class think like. So they condescend, romanticize. Yeah, exactly. I think you're spot on with that one. Terrified Monk. Disney Who is the worst spin-off I've watched in years. And there's been bad all along. Dalek Shalom. The East Asians are the only ones doing decent sci-fi. I keep getting told this all the time.
Excellent. Yes. Good point.
Yeah. Alice in Borderland, Hellbound are peak. The West mostly just uses its pro-globalist race inserting boss girl problem. This is the problem. Yeah, my friend who's 84, Anne, in Macclesfield. Hello, Anne. She tells me, Brendan, you've got to start watching Korean TV on Netflix. Korean drama.
That's
It's
why I was
brilliant.
saying if Doctor Who had been smart and we didn't have all this era, I would have been reaching out to get some of these chaps to give it a bit of a fresh, to these Korean and Japanese writers, because their content is absolutely top class. And I would love to have seen what they could do with the Doctor. That might have been a great road to go down just for a bit of, change, but we weren't going to get it.
I think people like RTD, they're in their depth now of, and they're pushing as hard as they can because they know that their idealism is failing, because they are in the minority now. Even the political supporters of the party that RTD is a fan of, they're turning away from that now. They're getting fed up with it. So you're right, Brendan. If RTD was to walk down the street and to start spewing his nonsense, he would get the white working class people would literally chase him out of there with words and basically saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know how much it's costing us to live at the moment and how much we're working to get through the day. You live in your little plush house with your love and hang out with your lovely mates, and you write about this fantasy that we're the bad people. No, we're not. We're just trying to make sure that our country is the best country it can possibly be.
He's forgotten RTD. This is what I mean. I wanted to give him credit for his earlier era, because with somebody like Wilfred Mott, I thought really did represent that kind of, that spirit.
Real Britannia stuff.
Yeah, but the Conrad Clark element is kind of, you're missing the point. I think there's an element where he's forgotten what it is like to be working class. He's lived abroad, and I think he's just become dislocated from it. But it's dangerous then. Mad Mackham, good to see you. Hello. Bring back, I'll have to say this slowly. Bring back the grit. Shift unit from a high-tech Marvel clone to a grounded, secretive global force that balances sci-fi with military noir. Do you know, Mad Mackham, do you think they could do that?
Can I answer that quickly?
Of course.
And something that I always wanted, mate. Doctor Who is a show which is traveling in space and time. What is it about the modern era? Why couldn't you do a period piece unit show set in the 70s still doing that? You could easily do that. The BBC are very good at doing period productions. It would work. What I get fed up with, exactly. And what I get fed up with is this modern unit. Well, it's not unit, is it? It's a rebadged Torchwood for diversity.
Yes,
that's what it is.
Yes. Give us a Batcave. Because when we're talking about a secret military base, it needs to... The Iranians seem to have well hidden some of their stuff in the real world. There's certain countries that have bunkers way down below, and yet our unit is high up. Are we thick that what we do in modern Britain, in Doctor Who land, is you have that massive unit tower, which would be a target for everybody's missile and drones. You only need a drone. I mean, RTD, get with the script. Come on, there's drone attacks you could have.
Well, it's also with, Harriet Jones was clearly proven 100% right about the Doctor, and again, from what you see of that scene you showed earlier about Shooty having a go at him in the TARDIS, the Doctor in RTD2 era is a threat to humanity, because he's coming in like a god and saying, you do it my way or I'll take you down. Now, that is something you have to prepare for.
Isn't it? But isn't this in... Right, I mean, I'm trying to stick to Doctor Who, but you can see, as me and John have said, it creeps further a little bit. Right, I'll start with Doctor Who, but you can see my point. Somebody of Earth is saying, listen, Doctor, this is my opinion on the world. Have I a right to that opinion? You're an alien. Pay off. At what point are we allowed to say, this is my world? And whether you think you don't like my opinion, I don't, why do you have a skin in the game? Because you're an alien. Bye-bye. I only live for 80 years. You live for thousands. Clear off. There's an element of that. So when we talk about the white working class argument, you're going, do you know what? Sometimes are we allowed to say, excuse me, I've lived here all my life and I'm just not happy about this?
Yeah, 100%. And again, a doctor a doctor would listen to a different viewpoint as well. How many examples in classic Doctor Who have we seen the Doctor looking at different viewpoints and not jumping on the bandwagon? Again, I bring up the Silurians. You know, the Doctor wanted to go and meet them. He wanted to see their point of view before he even came back to the Brigadier and talked to him about a plan of action. That's what the Doctor does. And again, the third Doctor, Dare the Daleks. Human beings are always squabbling about something, Brigadier. The Doctor is not interested in the little pronoun, agenda drivel, diversity cobblers, the day-to-day stuff like that. The Doctor is interested, I keep saying it, he is looking to defeat the big bad that turns up when he arrives. And that's it.
Although Unit does like a bit of wine and cheese, because I went to that. Farsight, thank you very much. Unit should go back to the unit of the invasion. Well, we seem to be saying stuff like that. Tomboy Chick, you see, Unit used to be made up of men who were soldiers. Now it's men playing at soldiers. There's do you know what Unit looks like? Cosplay. Unit looks like we're all playing dress-up soldiers.
It's ridiculous. The woman in the wheelchair with the rockets. I was just wishing on her to fire them and disappear off the screen. I was like, is this where we're at? You know?
What I adore about classic Unit is the fact that you care about those characters. You know, they develop. You know, Jo Grant, how she starts out in the beginning. Mike Yates, you know, the Brigadier, Benton. You care about those characters and the journeys they go on. It's wonderful stuff. Whereas I laughed when Brendan sent me a clip of the war between the land and the sea and Colonel Ibrahim dying. I don't give a stuff about what happens to Colonel Ibrahim. You know, he's a one-dimensional character that's popped up.
He used to get the biscuits for Kate. I mean, there was a story arc there. I mean, Tomboy Chick, Unit have been turned into another government department, incompetent and don't know what the left hand is doing. David Hardin, I think if Unit isn't at its heart a paramilitary organization as seen in 70s Doctor Who, they're just a variation on Torchwood. The third Doctor's era Unit had a legitimacy to it. I think we're going down that road. And isn't it funny? We were talking about Chris Eccleston's talk about TV bosses and working class, but Unit, if it was truthful, that would be full of working class men. Let's be honest. They're the fighters. I'm not against women in the army or anything, but you know the point. Front line, it's the men. And so you would have lots of men there. They're the cannon fodder. Let's be honest. Come on, everybody. Let's not play silly games. The truth is, you know, there's a lot from Scotland sign up, South Wales sign up, Yorkshire sign up. Hello, we know where they get their recruitment for the white working classes. We know.
I also think about classic Unit with the Brigadier in command, and I always think to myself, if the Doctor's off world, yes, he might be called back eventually. But the Brigadier is such a good leader that he can keep things going. He's competent, exactly, Joe. And whereas the current diversity unit, you wouldn't trust them to save you in the event of an apocalypse happening. No. You know, like big giant dinosaurs walk in the city. Sorry, I still laugh at that.
Well, look at Oren. Thank you, Oren. By the way, this is when you have an amazing thread. Everybody's well informed and skin in the game. Thank you. Let's go back to classic Who. Winifred Bambera was a black female brigadier replacement, but RTD wants the praise for going diversity. Exactly. It's been done.
Leela.
Yeah.
Badass.
She wasn't she? Although she was also with the working class in Del Boy, the famous Batman and Robin scene. She was in that one, wasn't she? Zach Whitten, Winifred Bambera was great fun. They should bring her back to replace Kate Stewart. Well, that would be DEI.
Yeah. She did do some Big Finish a while back, I believe. But you're right that, you know, it's a tired excuse. I mean, I've said before, in other franchises they talk about this as well, and again it's been done. I still maintain end of the 90s, probably the early to mid 2000s, I actually thought we had tackled and defeated the equality issue, bar some minority idiots, but then this lot have come along and again have created a movement that, I'm sorry, some of them might not have planned it, but I actually think they've turned more people against their movement now because of their antics over the last 10 years than if they just carried on before as they were. Because, you know, for me personally, I'm sick to death of it. You know, if someone speaks to me with pronouns, I'm like, look, I've got no time for your constant nonsense now. You know, clear off. That's how I am now, and I never used to be that way.
And here's my example, everybody. I've shown Doctor Who. The BBC report said it's the young. Remember, this is the BBC talking to the BBC. I'm just quoting it. And so this is the point. Young, white, working class boys living, for example, in the north of England were frequently raised as an issue of a disadvantaged group that should be represented more by the BBC, and then not in Doctor Who. Let's be honest. And this is, and why not? Is it because RTD's not bothered about that one? He thinks it's more about some LGBT argument.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And so we're left by saying, and I'm stretching the argument, that the Belinda Chandra's the working class in the modern era. You know, but in the end, she ended up almost like a housewife. You know, where's my poppy? Where's my poppy? Where's my poppy? That's all she bloody fixated about in the end.
And a bad writing. She was a better nurse than every other nurse, better than even the doctors, most competent. Reduced to a where's my poppy? Bad writing yet again. Terrible character arc.
And Joe, also, she was miserable. How many of these characters do they write that are miserable? They've just got, you know, they've got a face like a slapped ass, and it's just, you know, if you're going to write them, at least have some proper personality about them. But they don't.
Ruby was fine. She just kind of got kicked out the door, and.
But you see, Ruby had been done by Rose earlier. You know, it's like he was doing this, churning out the same stuff. I mean, I come back to my thumbnail. Chris Eccleston blasts TV bosses in class war. I hated then typing his words when he said white working class, because John, we weren't brought up in an era where we were looking at colour. We were looking at race. We weren't. No. And it's a damning indictment, not of Chris Eccleston, of where the hell we stand now. That Doctor Who and other shows and politicians have brought us to this level where we're almost defending our own patch because if we feel as though it's under attack. Shocking.
Well, it's like LGBTQ's become a class in its own almost. Like it's this peculiar.
Inclusive is exclusive.
Exclusive. We maybe need to start looking at it like that it is a type of class now, and what does that mean, and where are we going to go with it? Because, like John was just saying, the backlash is here. I guess we could all see we were super tolerant in the 90s. We were part of it all. The change came. It was great. Now what's going on? It's just like constant rainbow glitter diarrhea on us constantly.
Yeah, too much. Mad Mackham, the BBC treats the M25 like some protective salt circle against non-vibe opinions, forever trapped in a cycle of well, it is Mad Mackham. I agree. Watford Gap, what's above that? Terrified Monk. I always thought Game of Thrones was a parody on the British psyche because, you know, the North and the Wall. And I thought, oh, well, that's here. That's us lot up here. Terrified Monk. I've been miserable watching the past few years. I'll cheer you up. Our next show, I'll try and do a big saucy one about another era. Oh, what did my source say about season 17, Graham Williams era? Oh my God, I'm saying numbers. So, Joe, thank you for your last 2 hours of your time. Thank you very much.
Always good to see everyone in the chat as well.
Your discussion with Gabriel, hello Gabriel, went down very well. Everybody loved to hear Gabriel's opinion.
Oh, bless.
Rarely heard on a stream. That's just rarely. It's true. It's rarely heard, isn't it? And it was just lovely to hear what he said. Although I didn't like what he said. He said Doctor Who is cringe.
Oh, he's got so much more to add. He keeps coming up to me. Oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. Oh, I've got notes about this.
Oh, I'll do a sequel. Everyone will do a little half-hour sequel, won't we? If he's got more to say. Fascinating, because I remember seeing even his mum's face went, what? I've not heard that. And John, of course, Sci-Fi Chronicles. What are you up to?
Still going through Stargate SG-1 on the watch parties on Sunday. It's good fun. So we're on season 4, heading up to the finale of season 4. It's good. It's good fun. So if you've watched Stargate before or you haven't watched it, come along. You know, it's just we eat snacks, we have a good time, we comment in the live chat, and we just have a damn good time. And then I've got some other Stargate videos coming in the near future. But other than that, I watch this channel and see this rascal pumping out videos left, right, and center.
Yeah. And my last little one is a reminder to everybody. We're what, the 16th of April, so the month has only got 2 more weeks, and it is in April we will do this.
You're on a warning for getting those super chats.
I've got an idea for a Sensphere giveaway.
I'll get Brendan to shock you.
That's not fair. That's against the robot protocol.
Shall we give the season 21 Blu-ray collection away as a giveaway?
Blu-ray sounds mucky.
Yes, we give away 1 set to a subscriber.
I'd love to give away your gran. She's more into her bingo these days. So how does it work, son?
A draw in the next few weeks for all UK subscribers of the Sensphere.
Oh, and then I type in Sarah's Jack in the designated show.
Yes, and the winner gets announced by Mr. Brendan.
That's genius, Walkie. Apple doesn't fall far from the trees, does it?
Just a Grandad, you're right.
I'm so proud of you, son. So proud of you.
Thank you, Grandad. It's just to say thank you to all our subscribers.
Well, I'm more likely to go. I need a wee. I tell you what, the sound of all this water, it's doing funny things to me.
I thought I could smell something, Grandad.
Well, come on, let's go and find some toilets.
So there you go, everyone. I'm dying to do that. Jamie's got the randomizer set up. We will do.
Are we allowed to take part, or are we not allowed as panelists?
Oh, I'll let you, Joe. I've blacklisted John. So the Blu-ray, we've got 1 Blu-ray to give away. UK postal address on the right show. Check your subscriber. On that show, I will tell you, don't worry, type in Sarah's Jack, the randomizer will pick it up, and then you'll see where it goes.
You do know, everybody, that he's just given away 1 disc.
Yeah, at a time. Yeah. It's the Mercury
plan.
Yeah, it's the full set.
It's like mail order.
He's been a cheeky devil. Thank you, everybody. See you again soon. Thanks, Joe and John.
See you all.
Bye.